I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream.
Ravishing the world by shaking the anger of many minorities, not only in America but in foreign countries far and wide, the civil rights movement roused the fiery spirits of millions of suppressed voices that had been quelled for centuries. Formerly subdued, shied, and silenced, activists from all over finally put their foot down and took a stand against years of oppression. From slavery, unjust Jim Crow laws, and the oxymoronic rulings of separate but equal, they rose above, and took a stand for equality, liberty, and justice for all. However, many high soprano voices overpowered the lower bass voices who helped blend and create the harmonies that created the world-changing symphonies still heard today. The civil rights movement joined together the black community across the nation, with Caddo Parish being no exception. The rich civil rights history of people taking a stand in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, shines through in various testimonies and records of people in this area. Life in northern Louisiana was completely different for different races. Beginning in the late 1880s, laws issued in states and municipalities ruled it fair for blacks and whites to be separated and for it to be completely legal. Derived from the minstrel show character, the Jim Crow laws were prominently enacted. The laws called for separate railway cars, bathrooms, stores, schools, public places, hospitals, and more. In most cases, they were of lesser quality. In Shreveport, Louisiana, laws were no different. Brown v. Board of Education was a Supreme Court case that outlawed segregation in places that it still existed, namely the South. Desegregation caused an uproar, which led to many blacks feeling the racism directed to them on very personal levels. Segregation was a rough process for African Americans all across the South, except for in select areas where a small town was controlled by a black majority. Veronica Poole was 15 years old when she was integrated into Woodlawn. In a filmed interview, she discusses her own experience as a newly integrated student in what was once called the most racist town in the United States, as well as her opinions on other events that occurred in the Civil Rights era.
How did others treat you?
Others like in?
Just others in the school.
Okay. Half and half. Some good, some like a stranger, because we were from a different background.
Did others affect you in any way, either physically, emotionally, or mentally?
Not physical. I think more it was the African Americans that came to the white school was more physical. And I say mentally too. It was such a bad transition. We were just not prepared.
What are some instances you remember of others being racially hateful towards you, if any?
You know, I don't recall any. I'm thinking back, and it's been so many years. I'm thinking back. I don't recall. Really, I think it was a shock for both sides, really.
Did being integrated affect your school studies in any way?
It did. I was not motivated to want to excel as far as I could have because the transition was so traumatic. So I got over it after a year, but my grades did decline the first year.
Did the teachers treat you differently?
No, but I was centered. I was in the accelerated class, so it was only 3 African Americans in the accelerated class. So I really wasn't treated any differently. Now I can't talk about my other friends. We're kind of isolated a little bit.
How do you feel, seeing as now integration is not an issue, knowing that you've helped pioneer the path for blacks and other races of access into these schools?
I really, really feel good. The only thing I still feel that it's still some issues. The tests that the children have to take to get into the magnet schools, to me, they're just not geared for success for those children of, and I hate to say the social economic group what those children may fall in, but if you're in a certain social economic group, it seems like it's harder for them to get in the lower you are on the social ladder.
Exactly. Do you think the civil rights movement changed race relations in the U.S.? Do you feel that progress has been made?
I really do. Some may differ to say a little, a lot, but I feel if Martin Luther was here now and his speech that said one day he see that black children and white children will hold hands and we would be free, I think he would be very well pleased. but I think it would sadden him to see that because progress have made so as a race, that we've not overcome hating each other.
And finally, what are your thoughts on the assassinations of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King?
The two I mentioned, both were traumatic to me. I think I cried over Martin Luther longer than, almost like my dad. When his I Had a Dream speech is so touching. And when he said, I may not get there with you, it was almost like he knew he was gonna die. Malcolm X, I think they just needed him to be quiet because of his militant background, but we have to have both to balance out.
Established in 1967, Captain Treef High School, located in Shreveport, Louisiana, provided a different experience for Mrs. Belverly White, a black student at a school that opened desegregated. In a recorded interview, Mrs. White discusses her own school experiences in the Civil Rights Movement.
When you were at Shreve, did you feel the tension?
Yeah, I feel tension. I wasn't scared of any white people. I wasn't scared of them.
You weren't scared.
I didn't know whether they were going to trip me down like one of them tried to. I was in the cafeteria, stuck in his foot, and I tripped like I was going to fall. That was like all the time. People did silly stuff. It might be just, but I wasn't treated bad. Badly. By the time I went into the school, it was a new school. It wasn't like they'd been with each other from first grade up. We were just kids who wanted to go to the new school. So we had a choice for them. They were probably neighborhood kids too, though. But we had a choice for them. We could go anywhere we wanted to. So neighborhood kids were there, and maybe they did go to school. But a lot of people were there because for other, I don't know what reason.
So you made friends with them, right? Like you had some friends with white kids?
No.
No, you just kept to yourself?
I had one girl that I talked to, and we had to kind of talk without somebody seeing us. There were others that passed by and might say something, but I didn't have no, I did not have any white friends. I had the black girl, people just like now. Black people stick together, white people stick together.
If I was in y'all's place, I would have been scared.
It wasn't at the time that we started integrating school. I never would have gone to that school if I was scared. You got to understand that. I was scared because I'm not going to school with my friends anymore.
Yeah.
I got to make new friends. It's just like you move somewhere, and that's what had happened to me. It was just like I moved somewhere.
Did your parents just say you're going to Shreve, or did they give you an option?
I made the choice.
They gave you the choice.
Yeah, I asked my mother. I said, I want to go to that pretty round school there. She said, go if you want to. So when I got the choice form, that's what I checked. When we got ready to register, my mother had found out we were going to Captain Treef, so that's what we went. It was exciting. I wanted to go to that school. It was exciting. And I've never been to school with Caucasians.
You're like the Shreveport Ruby Bridges.
No, not really. It would have to be those people who went all by themselves, like the black boy I was trying to tell you, that integrated bird. By the time I went to the white school, even though it was just a few of us, and we didn't all go have the same lunch period, so all of us came together in the
cafeteria together.
A lot of times people gather together as defense.
Caddo Parish was a hotspot during the Civil Rights Movement. These interviews tell parts of a larger story. Other events in Caddo Parish during the Civil Rights Movement transpired as well. Some of these events include the affidavit of Wyatt Walker, who, along with Reverend Harry Blake, were held in Shreveport City Jail for loitering. They did not eat or drink during this time period. Nationwide, the movement advanced as well, with landmark Supreme Court cases such as Loving v. Virginia giving interracial couples the right to marry. Laws like the Fair Housing Act of 1968 banned landlords from discriminating based on race. However, without the events in Caddo Parish, the Civil Rights Movement may not have advanced as swiftly or as made as groundbreaking an impact as it did.
Brighter days will